And welcome back. I'm Roby Brock. It is now time to talk politics at our roundtable. Joining me from left to right here, at least for me, is Rex Nelson, Political Animals Club president, KATV's lead Capitol reporter Janelle Lilley, and Michael Cook with Cook's Outlook, whom you can catch at talkbusiness.net. Catch your stuff there too.
Yeah.
Because you're right in there as well.
Absolutely.
And your stuff's there too.
All the time.
Man, we're dominant. We're dominant. All right, before we go talk about the week that was in Arkansas politics, I want you to plug what you got coming up with Political Animals Club this next Tuesday.
We got the House Speaker for St. Patrick's Day breakfast, so wear your green and come out good and early. You'll be green with envy if you don't come to this meeting.
Will there be beer there that early in the morning?
No, there will be orange juice and coffee.
There went
however.
viewership and there went attendance.
Yeah,
right
7
there,
o'clock at the Little Rock Club.
Should have done happy hour.
For those of you who get up early.
Yeah. All right, let's cut to the chase. We had a busy week in politics. Let's begin with the Representative Justin Harris saga. Why don't you bring us up to speed, Janelle, on what transpired this week?
Yeah, I mean, it started with a great article, investigative piece by the Arkansas Times, and that kind of started the cycle that spun for a little while. Essentially, it became public knowledge that Representative Harris had chosen to rehome 2 of his adoptive daughters. Now, the press for a few days tried to get Harris on the record about it. He held a press conference that Friday, spoke about it. In that press conference, levied some pretty heavy accusations against the Department of Human Services. DHS wasn't actually allowed to respond as a privacy concerns for the child and also because of the adoption situation.
And then this week we had House Minority Leader Eddie Armstrong call for him to strongly consider resigning.
Exactly. It wasn't a call for the resignation. Right. It was a call for him to strongly consider resigning. Governor Hutchinson said that he just wanted to stay out of it, essentially. All
right. Now, Michael, you wrote a column about this, calling on him. He needs to resign now.
It's time to resign. He says, Governor Hutchinson said, well, the facts are not all out there enough. We don't have 100% of the facts. That's correct. But I think we know enough of the facts that he put a child in danger. And his action, because he decided to put a child in a home that hadn't been vetted by adoption authorities, and then the child was horribly assaulted. You don't deserve to serve in the state legislature. It's not a partisan issue. It's just a matter of being morally right. The Democratic Party, in my opinion, the Democratic Party has called for his resignation, but nobody on the Republican side has really called for his exit from the state legislature. What has
been the perspective from the Republican side on this? It has been, let's wait and see more facts. There has been some folks rush to his defense even.
The public comments have been let's wait and see. I personally believe, and they may come out and say you're wrong, but I personally believe there would be great relief inside the governor's office if he did go on and resign, because it's a distraction at this point. I mean, this has turned into a soap opera, albeit an awful soap opera because you have children involved, but with the casting out of demons and all, I mean, it has become that kind of weird, viral, internet national story at this point.
And, Representative Harris, as a result, has supported the rehoming bill that would make it a felony, and I think that's one of the reasons that the story isn't going to go away anytime soon. Not only are we learning more as the information is disseminated, but we also have an entire bill that has to go through committee and through both chambers of the House, and every time that bill moves, there's going to be another story about it.
And you raised a good point because, Harris says he supports the rehoming legislation, which would make what he did a felony, which makes it even more awkward for him to say, basically, I'm for legislation that says what I did would be a crime. That's awkward.
I mean, in his defense, though, knowing what happened might have been the influencer to make that, decision, knowing the end result.
I still think there's some more chapters of this story that will unfold, not necessarily from the Times reporting, but I mean, I hear that that Justin Harris may actually release more information in the week to come that will tell more of his side of the story. We'll see if that
But there's so many strange parts to it. Again, I think it's going to continue to attract national attention, and that's why I'm saying it's a big
PETA
distraction.
Just pulled their ads. They were doing a campaign statewide in Arkansas that is adoption is forever for dogs and cats was the intention behind it, but because of the national attention around this, they have pulled their ads in the state. So it is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, so it's an awful distraction for the governor and for the House and Senate leadership all right now.
Let's talk about another topic that popped up late in the week on this week, and that is State Treasurer Dennis Milligan basically agrees that he did the wrong thing in hiring a relative. I think it was a cousin of his. He paid a $1,000 fine. But where does the story kind of stand at the end of the week, Janelle?
I think there's some questions to be answered here still, and questions that we're certainly looking into. First of all, just the agreement that there was something of a statute violated, and the Attorney General's fine of that. We have some questions whether or not there was a crime committed, right? Whether or not
A misdemeanor.
a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
But and whether or not an actual agency of law enforcement is going to look into that. Do we allow an elected official to, in some ways, be above the law if they decide not to look into it?
The prosecution can't move on the matter until an investigative file is handed over to them.
We spoke to Larry Jugley, and he said he doesn't have an investigative file, and he's not even sure what agency is investigating this. And so at this point, as far as I'm personally aware, there has not been an investigation by an actual law enforcement agency. Right now, the Attorney General is calling theirs not an investigation. I can't remember the terminology.
About 30 seconds. How does it matter? Does it become a big front page story?
You know, it depends on what Janelle was saying, if it becomes investigated. But the bigger picture is this, you know, Dennis Milligan has a reputation for doing things that get him in hot water. People predicted that he would do something. And of course, you know, a month in, he's already done it.
Spoken like the political consultant that ran the campaign against him.
Bottom line, very quickly, we've got to, at some point, get rid of the Treasurer's office, get rid of the Auditor's office, get rid of the Land Commissioner's office. They don't need to be elected offices. We need constitutional amendments to get rid of those and go modern and have those as administrative positions.
There's still time to do it. All right. Michael Cook, Janelle Lilley, Rex Nelson, you guys stick around. We're going to do a web extra. All right. All right. So for our viewers out there, check out talkbusiness.net when we go off the air here, and you will see more of our conversation. We're going to talk about Tom Cotton as one of the big political topics this week. That's all for this week's edition of Talk Business and Politics. Thank you for watching. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to our Web Extra. Our Talk Politics Roundtable this week is Michael Cook, Janelle Lilley, Rex Nelson. We had to leave it all on the air and cut off now. Now we got a little bit more time here. Let's talk about another huge political topic this past week. It dominated the national headlines. Our junior senator from Arkansas, who was on the show earlier, Senator Tom Cotton, makes some pretty good waves with a letter that he helped author and got 46 of his colleagues to do. How did you see all this playing out this week, Rex? I mean, was it good for Tom Cotton? Was it bad for Arkansas?
With his constituency in Arkansas, I think it's probably good. I think more people are saying bravo, Tom Cotton, just because President Obama and the Obama administration are so unpopular in the state of Arkansas. And I think the other thing that we knew going into this is that one way or another, Tom Cotton would make news. He would be a rising national star on the Republican scene, and he's doing it awfully quickly.
Publicity stunt or great politics?
You know, I mean, either way, it's effective, right? I mean, he certainly made the national circuit, and my Twitter feed, who I follow now, a lot of national people blowing up about it. I had tons of people from friendships all over the country screenshotting things and sending it back to me, and you ran with this guy, you know, just funny things like that. But it's certainly made a big impact nationally. Now, whether or not that's setting him up for something in the future, as a certain bill, which was filed, you know, kind of segues into, who knows, but certainly made some waves.
You got to disagree.
You don't think it made waves?
Well, no, it made waves.
Oh, okay.
And I think Rex is right in terms of his constituency in Arkansas probably did like what he had to say. And you can't go wrong in Arkansas being against the Obama administration. It's just impossible. Exactly. But I think the larger point is, I think what he and the others, because remember it's only him, but there's 46 other senators. I think just what they did was wrong, and I think there's been a lot of backlash nationally. I mean, not from just Democrats, but when the Utah newspaper, the Salt Lake Tribune, has an editorial saying this was not the right thing to do, that kind of tells you what the little stunt they pulled. You know, writing a letter to the Ayatollahs of Iran, it just doesn't feel right. It's almost trying to basically sabotage a weapons agreement, negotiations.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, my social media feed too, I was looking at one of them in the Facebook feed there. Literally back to back, you've got Tom Cotton, the biggest buffoon in Washington, Tom Cotton the most powerful man in
Right,
Washington.
right.
Just depending
Yeah.
on your political perspective, I think this played totally to the bases in terms of appealing to Tom Cotton's base, and definitely people that don't like Tom Cotton, it just played right into everything that they have feared about him or dislike about him.
Sounds like you have a very bipartisan news
I
feed
do
there on your
have that.
Facebook
Well,
page.
it'll be interesting to see now, in 2 months in, he's made massive waves. Now he'll have more national publicity.
Yeah.
And I was going to
And-
say,
For anything he does out.
And he said, remember, because during the campaign, he said that ISIS and the Mexican drug cartels were working together. Well, nobody really called him on it because he was just a state, running for the U.S. Senate. But now, if he says something wild and just wrong now he has the national media will be picking apart everything he has to say from now on.
and I was going to say, and it comes at a time when, of course, it looks like Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side and Mike Huckabee on the Republican side are about to declare presidential candidacy. So are we the center of the political world yet again here
Throw
in
another
Arkansas?
Arkansan in there too. I mean, and I think that the rumor is, that this has vaulted him in terms of publicity and stature to, he's got to be in the conversation when it comes to vice presidential candidates in 2016.
I think we can all attest that there's not a lot that Tom Cotton does that is not calculated. So I think that he's a very thoughtful person in any action that he takes. So it would not surprise me if it was.
It would not surprise me to see him on the VP shortly. You think about it, of all the presidential candidates, nobody has any military experience. Rick Perry does, but Rick Perry's not going to be the nominee of the
Southern
Republicans.
conservative.
So, it sounds crazy, but strange things have happened out of Arkansas.
They have happened and continue to happen. Our politics are never boring.
All right, I'll throw it open here in this Web Extra. If anybody wants to throw another topic out, this is your chance to talk about it.
Well, we were just talking before the show, Michael and I, it doesn't really matter at this point whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. It's getting time for the legislature to go home. That's one thing we can all agree on, right, Janelle?
Let's go home. We get the point. You've done enough.
Yeah, we're waiting for those RSAs.
John
You
Burris,
can get into the silly season in late March.
John Burris, who writes one of our conservative columns, said he wanted to retract his column from last week. It is time for them to go home. he said.
Yeah, and you're hearing that
Check
around
with
the
the pairs.
legislature too. People are like, "Once my bill's through," I said we call it.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
One last plug for Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning, House Speaker Jeremy Gillum at the Political Animals Club. We meet at the Little Rock Club, 7 a.m., bright and early. But it would get your St. Patrick's Day off to a very good start.
All right, Rex Nelson, Janelle Lilley, Michael Cook, appreciate y'all all being here.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching this Web Extra. You can keep up with the latest political news each and every day at talkbusiness.net or KATV.com.